For me, one of the highlights of cryptocurrency investing is being able to delve into the nitty gritty, the analytics, the data, and actually see for yourself how successful a project could be, how the project is running, the hash rate, etc., the data, the blockchain data behind the cryptocurrency. In this video, I'm going to expand that a little bit and actually go into the sentiment analysis, the news, the media, and the picture that you can build if you're diligent around a cryptocurrency project to help you inform your investment. Now, I'm not going to be looking at any blockchain technology in this. There's other videos in this series on analysis of blockchain data and that kind of thing. This is all about the kind of soft science element of investing, looking at social analytics, looking at sentiment analysis, looking at greed and fear indexes, looking at news, and seeing how news can actually affect the data. So, two major sources of crypto news: CoinDesk and Cointelegraph. Both of them are very good. Both of them are good at providing journalistic insights and covering the vast majority of crypto stories. They're also obviously, biased towards cryptocurrency. There is an agenda, but at the same time, they do list a variety of sources and do provide an overwhelming picture of how the cryptocurrency market is currently trending and is currently surviving. You can sign up to alerts on both of these platforms, and you can get your fill of cryptocurrency news from these two sources. And anything that these two sources generally report is going to be reliable and is also going to be, capable of utilizing for trading purposes, because the vast majority of people who follow cryptocurrency news will also follow these two companies. If you don't want to follow any one particular company, then you can use cryptopanic.com. If you've ever used a Bloomberg terminal or ever used any kind of those technologies, this is the crypto equivalent of a Bloomberg terminal, in that it is a news aggregator and focuses all of the news stories around the world into one dashboard that you can scroll through. Now, this is going to throw a lot of information at you very quickly, and it's up to you how to interpret it. But everything that comes through here is going to be reported on in some way or another across the world. Now, obviously, there is a ranking system. There are different ways of interpreting the data, and there's also a trending tool here to actually find out what the sentiment is around the world at the moment with any particular news story. So if we look at a particular news story here, we can actually go deeper into the story and actually see where the story's been reported from. We can also look at other reactions from around the world and with other individuals who are reacting to this story. Okay, so this is a way of starting your deep dive journey, if you like, into the world of crypto news. Now, it's quite topical at the moment because this week there was a fake news story, a particularly prevalent fake news story about Walmart agreeing to tie up with Litecoin. The story was completely fictitious, and within less than an hour, it had been completely revealed as a hoax. It wasn't helped by the fact that the founder of Litecoin shared it on the official Litecoin Twitter page. He only owns 5 Litecoin now, so it wasn't anything to do with money or making a gain. There were some lapse protocols in place, basically, which meant that this news story was shared without the due diligence being conducted. In actual fact, I found about this news story on Reuters, which is a very credible and very reliable source. So if you went and Googled at the time, you would have seen a lot of news stories. Almost every single cryptocurrency news company was reporting on this. And then very quickly, the situation changed when Twitter, and that's how I found out the actual news story was incorrect. People started posting on Twitter that it was a fake news story. Walmart came out around about an hour after the original post and said this is a myth. And then Litecoin also came out and said it was a myth after about an hour and a half. If you wanted to know what actually happened to the price in this situation, it was relatively abrupt. So at 1 o'clock on the 13th September UK time, the price went from $170, $375 all the way up to $230, $240, and by 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, it was back down at 175. Okay, so a huge 30-40% jump followed by a massive decline. If you've seen the pump and dump video, this would be an exact pump and dump situation where if you are particularly good at following the market and gauging the sentiment, you could have got out at least heavily profitable around this region, only to buy back at a lower rate as soon as the market sold off. But you have to be very quick, and you also have to be very good at deciphering and judging information and corroborating information as well to make sure that you know that that news story is incorrect. Some tools that could have helped you to do that. So this is lunacrush.com, and this aggregates all social media activity for cryptocurrencies. Okay, and you can see here, this is the usual level of data for social media feeds on Litecoin. We had this sudden jump, which was very big and a spike. So as soon as we had that jump, I mean, if it started to trend off very, very quickly, you could see that that was actually a non-story. So where are we? If we go here and we see that the social volume is 161 just prior to it, it jumps almost 100 times up to 16,100, and then drops back down again very, very quickly to 5,880 before settling ultimately right down again at around about the 200 mark. Okay, so that would be a way that you could accurately determine the social media presence of a story and whether a story is actually going to hold the price or whether it's going to decline. If we contrast it with another story, which was actually much more viable and true, El Salvador accepted Bitcoin as its main fiat cryptocurrency on the 7th of September. We're now on the 16th of September. And if you notice, just before, the sentiment on here was huge. Okay, it was building up, building up, building up. And on the 6th of September, the day before, it reached a peak of 392,000 social volume stories. Okay. Now, what's interesting is on the day afterwards, the 7th, okay, which was the day it came out, we had a large Bitcoin movement in the negative direction, and the social element dropped off to being lower than that. Okay, so we actually had a drop in the price. Okay, but the social element actually increased dramatically and then came back down again. Okay, so this is what happens with news stories that are genuine. We see a nice correlation between the price and the actual news stories, with a potential increase just beforehand. Okay, so 392, then jumping to 645 on the day of, and coming back down again. But what you're looking for is the corroboration over a longer time frame, basically. So 12, 24 hours, and obviously that was a previous peak. And if we're doing a little bit of analysis on this as if it was a financial function, you'd see that this is the resistance level. But I don't know whether you can apply those kind of data to this particular situation and say that that was a breakthrough and then a drop again. But once again, we've got the pump and dump situation. Okay, any news story is going to trigger some kind of mass situation where a lot of people are focusing on it at once, and that's going to cause spikes in the data. Your job as a trader, if you're using sentiment analysis, is to determine which spikes are relevant and are going to cause significant price movements that either you can take part in or you can get out of. And that's the situation. And obviously, El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin was a tangible news story that was credible and true, and it was backed up by various sources. People have been talking about it for a long time, 90 days before, in fact, when the law was actually passed. So there was a lot of time to actually gain corroboration and ensure that that story was actually correct. Then we saw the spike on the day of and the price decline, and then interest fell back down to its level, previous level. Okay, so that is what happens when a news story is genuine as opposed to a fake news story, which causes a huge price spike with no alternative movements afterwards. Another way of gauging the overall sentiment of the market is to use a fear and greed index. Okay, so there's two extremes, fear and greed, and cryptocurrency is very good at doing both. When times are down, when Bitcoin's dropping, when there's news stories coming about Bitcoin, fear is everywhere. So much so that many people don't even want to invest or even talk about cryptocurrency investing. And then the opposite is true. When everything is green, when markets are going up, when everything seems to be rosy, there's partnerships coming out of the works, there's prominent hedge fund managers talking about cryptocurrencies. Everyone seems to be very positive about it. That's the greed element. Okay. Both are very dangerous and both can be exploited for their gain. Ideally, you want to be buying when there's fear and selling when there's greed. So you want to have profitable positions in a greedy market, and you want to enter or at least have positions some underwater during the fear situation. Now, if you look at where we are at the moment, we're in the middle of the road. Okay, so we're neutral at the moment. We've been neutral for a couple of days now. Last week there was fear as we had that massive drop in Bitcoin with the El Salvador situation. It seems that was supposed to be, and obviously in the popular consciousness, a positive news story, but the market didn't interpret it that way, or at least there was some level of manipulation of the price. And then obviously last month, with Bitcoin climbing significantly from around about low 40s all the way up to 50,000, we had a greed situation with lots of altcoins also moving. There was also a crypto fear and greed index over time where you can actually have a look, okay, and see what the situation is. And if we go to the extreme, we can actually see that it oscillates very significantly. So what you want to be doing is treating this like RSI basically, and anything over 80%, you want to be looking towards selling something in your portfolio, and anything towards the 20 low area, you want to be buying as much as possible. Okay, so this is where it's counterproductive, okay, because down here you'll be hearing news stories about how people have lost millions in crypto, how crypto's ultimately really bad, how regulators are going to stop it, how governments are going to ban it, etc. Here you'll be hearing none of those stories, and everyone thinks that their crypto project is going to the moon. And why on earth would you sell? Why would you get out, basically? Aren't you supporting projects? Aren't you keen to make as much money as possible, etc., etc.? So the narrative oscillates between these two. What you want to do is you want to be in the happy medium, happy to sell or buy regardless of what the news and media are saying, provided you have a justification for your movements. Okay, and this crypto fear and greed index is as good as justification as any. In fact, it's probably a better justification than the majority of investment decisions that are made. And this is obviously a market sentiment as opposed to a specific cryptocurrency sentiment. And this is available on cryptocurrency tracker, okay, .info. So you can use that to guide your investment decisions and whether to balance your portfolio, sell out some crypto for fiat, etc., or buy lots when the market is showing fear. Another tool you can utilize is Google Trends. So you can actually compare Bitcoin crash and buy Bitcoin. So if you look here, towards the beginning of the year, we actually had one of the best runs in cryptocurrencies for a very, very long time, since 2017. And if you look at the sentiment on buy Bitcoin, it actually peaked around about early January, so 3rd to the 9th of January, and then it peaked again in February. Okay, we actually reached our peak in May, so you would have had plenty of warning that something was going to be happening. And if you compare it to Bitcoin crash only had 12% at the same time, okay, and 10% even the second time, or 7% the second time round. If we actually look what happened when the Bitcoin market did crash, we saw a drop off in both. So buy Bitcoin was 65%, Bitcoin crash was 22%, and now we're down here where Bitcoin crash is very low. It's taken a little bit of an upswing recently because of the price movements, but Buy Bitcoin is definitely bigger in terms of sentiment analysis. And you can actually compare any search term. You can compare it worldwide. You can compare it in certain countries, okay? And you can also look over a longer time frame or a shorter time frame, pretty much any time you want. And obviously we can go back to 2017 where we can actually see the peak of Buy Bitcoin, which actually at the previous bull market, and then we've had several since. Okay, so interestingly, the interest in Bitcoin is not as high as it was back in 2017, probably because a lot of people have written it off because it's quite expensive in terms of an asset, around about $50,000 at the time of this recording. What if you want to go back in time and look at some historical data for trading purposes? Well, there is a free website, Crypto Data Download, which allows you to do just that. It has 28 major exchanges, and you can use 2 time frames across 550 currency pairs and 1,100 data sets. If you are designing an algorithm or trading it with an algorithm, this is the website to use. It deals with the major exchanges. Okay, Binance is probably one of the ones to use the most, as I've indicated earlier in this course. And what you can do is you can go back and download these as Excel spreadsheets or CSV spreadsheets and actually apply a rule or a data tool in order to actually discover what the price has done in any particular thing. So if you're particularly keen on analyzing data and doing data tests, this would be the website to utilize. So what if you want to know whether a news story is actually true? Well, you can use a tool called CoinMarketCal, which is where you can actually see the next events coming up for your particular cryptocurrency. Okay, so we have a Polka City NFT game release happening on the 31st December 2021, and then obviously all these events are happening today. KickX listing, okay, so that will happen today, and we've had 341 votes to say that is real. Okay, so we actually have a nice way of determining whether a news story is true or not. Okay, got the block reward halvening for Litecoin Cash coming up, and that has had a support of 97%. Okay, if we scroll down here and see Coinbase Pro listing of Zen Horizon, which is a cryptocurrency I follow, we've had 17 votes there. That's obviously relatively easy to discover whether that's true or not by looking at the blockchain data. Okay, Enzyme listed on KuCoin, for example. There's lots of things going on, and this calendar will enable you to recognize what's going on behind the scenes of your particular crypto project. You can even, if you want to, search for a particular token, a particular coin, and it will show you what's going on there. So let's go to Cardano for a second. So we've got the Cardano Summit happening in September 2021, the 25th, and then we've got the World Blockchain Summit with Binance Coin, etc., and Cardano obviously included in that from October 13th to 14th. And once again, we've got a nice strong support for this, 96%, 3,023 votes, and 1,762 votes respectively for each of those. Okay, so really have a discover around. Okay, look at your particular cryptocurrency if you want to see what's coming up on the horizon, and this may influence the price. Okay, so a halvening event, for example, a major conference, a major release, okay, all might have an effect on the price and help you to obviously buy when the market is down and sell when the market is excited. One thing about news stories is they generally tend to die down as soon as the event happens. Okay, so you want to be buying well in advance of any of these certain situations. Okay, so if there was a major event, you want to be in the market around about a week before and then selling ideally the day of. Okay, because usually what happens, as we've seen with major events, is the price increases just before the news story or the release or the update. Okay, and then as soon as it's done and it's known and it's major news and everyone's moved on, the price declines accordingly. Okay, there is a popular phrase where you buy the market, sell the news. Okay, so you buy the rumor, sell the news. Okay, that's what you want to be doing with cryptocurrency in particular, because the rumors are everywhere, and as soon as it's known as a genuine fact, people lose interest, unless the situation is very, very different or very, very good or extremely beneficial for everyone, in which case the situation might be different. But generally speaking, 95% of the news stories that you read and have an effect on the price have a temporary effect on the price as opposed to a permanent effect. If you're looking for a one-stop shop in order to determine how many updates a crypto project has had, okay, CryptoMeso actually looks at the Gitcoin Hub data for 181 different cryptocurrencies, and as we can see, my favorite pet project, Syscoin, is actually at the top of this at the moment, having had the most updates in the last 12 months. You can change the time frame. You can also look at different cryptocurrencies to see how and when they have been updated. So this might also inform your decisions about which cryptocurrency to invest in. This is more fundamental analysis as opposed to anything else, but it will actually help you to see which crypto projects are being actively developed as opposed to not being actively developed. And obviously we can go through here and see all different types of cryptocurrencies that are currently being developed consistently, and Ethereum is actually 20th, which you'd expect it to be perhaps a little bit higher than 20th position. You can go through here and see all these, and it's just a one-stop, a very easy way of seeing which cryptocurrencies have been developed recently and which have not, for you to obviously inform your investment decision making. Finally, we have crypto research. If you're looking for something a little bit more in-depth, a little bit more readable, okay, as opposed to just tidbits and comments and likes on social media, then I can definitely recommend cryptoresearch.report. These are produced by Cointelegraph and are generally very in-depth articles and documents, 93 pages, this most recent one, about things in the cryptocurrency space, and they have a deep dive into the world of cryptocurrency. So if you're looking for something a little bit more authored and layered and in-depth and comprehensive, then this would be the avenue you could go down. And obviously they have quite a few articles. Generally, an article is published around once a week, so you'll actually be able to determine what you're looking for, and there are 11 pages at the moment of these deep dive situations, so you can actually have a look and determine what you want to read, and obviously use that to inform your wider decision making on the market. So there are two elements here. They're time frame elements. This would be a longer time frame. Okay, so you might look at a report on NFTs, for example, and decide that you like the sound of NFTs and want to adopt NFTs in your investment structure. But then obviously on the very short time frame, you're looking for crypto news, you're looking for opportunities to invest. If you're going to invest on the back of crypto news, be very, very wary, because situations like the Walmart story will catch people out. Okay, there's always new fake stories coming out, and this is a particularly prevalent one because it managed to get through all of the holes and all of the due diligence that's usually done with crypto narratives and cause this price spike. Okay, usually speaking, crypto news stories won't do that. They will be debunked very, very quickly. This one was debunked quickly, but it still had a massive ripple effect on the price because people believed it rather than seeing it for what it was in face value. The more informed you can be, i.e. by reading and corroborating and backing up your perspective, the less likely you are to be taken in by those particular things. When I saw the Walmart story, I didn't believe it. It seemed too weird for me. Why would Walmart pick up Litecoin of any cryptocurrency? I mean, no disrespect to Litecoin, but I'm sure it's not the most popular cryptocurrency in terms of public adoption, and it's also not particularly going to be user friendly for people who are into cryptocurrency, because who's going to buy their shopping using Litecoin, which is technically, it's undervalued asset in my opinion. A couple of $100 when it maybe could be 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000. So it didn't really make that much sense. And obviously, that's where I went on my due diligence and corroboration research to make sure that my hunch was actually accurate. And very quickly, within an hour, I actually had the confirmation that it was a fake news story. Okay. So use all these tools. There are many more out there for you to discover, but these are the highlights, and make sure that you keep abreast of the data. Don't go too into the news stories. A lot of people tend to think that news is the be all and end all. It is not. There's actually some nice books out there that you can actually get hold of, such as Don't Read the News, because news can make it feel like a very, very fast-paced, overwhelming environment where there's a news story coming out all the time, and it's a very good way to get burnout as a trader, because what you're doing is you're plugging into an endless stream of data, which is making you anxious. Remember, the overall worldview of news is to create a story, to create anxiety, to create a situation, and that's not healthy if you're going to be plugged into it all the time. Use this resource sparingly. Use news sparingly. Use it to inform as opposed to react. Okay, you need to be proactive about it and actually go and look for your news stories, as opposed to being plugged into it all the time and having alerts on your phone come up about particular crypto projects that are just going to be noise as opposed to actually useful data.